Welcome back, everyone, to the Rehab on the Mic podcast. Today, guest is somebody that I am actually super interested to hear from. He's a PT who has what's considered a dream job to some. I know myself. We have Dr. Chris O'Neill here. He's a PT currently working on the PGA and Corn Ferry tours, and he also owns his own PT practice. So I want to know a little bit about you. I know you treat and teach a little bit as well. So before we get into all the tour stuff, like give us a little background on you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dr. Chris. Really honored to be on the podcast. So a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and currently living and practicing in Jupiter, Florida. My wife and I just moved here just about a year ago now from Colorado. We're in Colorado Springs for the past 7 years. After growing, we both grew up in Jacksonville. And I am a non-traditional, I guess PT. I guess when I was in PT school, the term I guess was non-traditional student, meaning my undergrad is not in a health science degree. So I went to school originally for business and worked in retail management, became a personal trainer, worked in healthcare recruitment for, pretty much 8 years, even through like my first year or two of being a PT. And then decided to go back to PT school. This feels like so long ago, 2015. Took a long time to get prereqs, and then because I had to retake some classes, take some classes I had never taken before, and then ultimately got into PT school in 2020 at South College in Knoxville, Tennessee. Graduated. Now I've been practicing for 4 years. I'm a huge golfer, a little bit of a sicko when it comes to golf. Like I keep track of stats, like green and regulation, fairways and regulation, putting, where my misses are, and like. But what's interesting about that is I did not grow up playing golf. I played football in high school, played in college, tried to run at professional football. I've had 3 ACL surgeries, and my knees had other plans. So I got into golf kind of, I wouldn't say by accident, but when I was in PT school, I had a professor, and he's a good buddy of mine now, Dr. Jeremy Smith, up in Chicago area. He runs a clinic up there, and we had a long talk about golf PT while I was a student. And I think one of the pivotal questions for my career that I asked him was, "Do you need to be good at golf to be a golf PT?" And he said, "No, but it sure will help you be invited more." And that has definitely been the truth. I feel like I've been constantly just striving to receive more invites from from clients by being good at golf. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of my background and backstory. Oh,
All right.
one more thing. I'm happily married. Been married to my wife Michelle for our anniversary is in 23 days, 3-year anniversary, and we've been dating. We've been together for almost 10 years now. But she was a big part of encouraging me to go back to PT school as well, and or go to PT school. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention that part. So shout out Michelle.
Yeah. Spousal support is very important. I know
Absolutely.
I follow you on Instagram, so I see your stories and like you're posting 18 birdies, right? That you use. You track
Yeah,
stuff on.
yeah.
I have the same stuff, and it's funny because I got super into golf, then I had kids, didn't play as much, started playing more because I where my practice is, and like you said, all my clients invite me out to their country clubs. I'm like, I should be getting
Mm-hmm.
a little better, but my game's all over the place too. I broke 80 this year for the first time, shot
Let's
76,
go.
and then the next time I went out, I shot a 92. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It's,
That's
it's very
golf.
golf. Everything worked one day, nothing worked the next day. Um,
Yeah.
but
I had a client yesterday. He came in last week. He texted my buddy who does his swing instruction, and he goes, "Guys, I've been taking everybody's money on the course. I've won $10. I won $10." And he comes in yesterday, and he just has this like disgruntled look on his face. I'm like, "Uh-oh, what happened?" man, I shot a 93. Everything's falling apart and da da da. I'm like, you had 3 rounds in the 80s. Like 93 is still good. What was the miss? Oh, I three putted 6 times. I was like, all right, well, if we get rid of most of those, if we get rid of one putt on each of those, you're breaking 90. Why are you? But then that's just golf.
Yeah, it's a very fun, aggravating sport. But I was curious about your PT like school background and how you came into the golf world. I'm curious to know that as you started to look into the golf stuff, did you do any of the like golf certification routes? Like I know I did the TPI stuff, and I've heard of other people doing different things, like education courses. What did you do to really get into the golf world?
I did TPI. So I've done TPI's medical 2, fitness, and power level 2. They had, for those that have not taken there's like 3 levels for each one. I would say probably for most people that are interested in golf PT, level 1's probably what you need. Like it's going to give you the terminology. And then I've taken, to go back to my buddy, Dr. Jeremy Smith, he started a Con Ed course a few years ago called Movement for Golf. And it's, growing a continuing education course has its challenges, especially in golf, because TPI has such a large market share and they've done a lot of great work and research over the last couple of decades. But that course, I think, is like one of my favorite Con Ed courses I've ever taken. And I don't get paid to say that, but I've taken plenty of courses in person, and to be able to like have a course in person where you're assessing a golfer, understanding golf terminology, swing faults, ball flight, things that influence ball flight, and all those different things, and then learning treatment options and exercises. I don't think I have not taken a golf Con Ed course that provides all of those into one weekend course. Um, so shout out to Movement for Golf. I got an opportunity to take that in 2023, August of 23. And man, like I wish, I'm sure it's going to continue to grow, but man, TPI is great. Again, I've learned a lot of great things, but that course has probably like been the biggest thing that helped me early on in this, I guess, specialty niche area of golf.
Yeah, TPI definitely has the brand awareness at this point. People ask me all the time, like, do they need it to treat golfers? I'm like, technically no, but it's nice to have that like title behind you and like people know it now. As a PT, like you know how to treat most of the injuries at this point. If you play golf, you know most of the terminology, but like combining the two is where it becomes super beneficial. But I mean, the course you're talking
Right.
about sounds great. And maybe if we're ever exit comprehend and we're done with that, I'm gonna look into that. As I enjoy treating golfers. That's all I do now. 4 to 5 hours
Yeah,
a week at most is just all golf. So definitely be something I'll look into and refer people out over to as well.
absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I know we didn't get a chance to connect at CSN this year, but um, the guy that I presented with, Eli Rogers, who's out in Salt Lake, the three of us were going to put in a presentation proposal for next year, and then I missed the boat on the deadline because we were going to try and use that as a way to like talk about Con Ed courses and how to create like a complete like system and protocol for treating the golf athlete from a rehab perspective, injury risk management, and then performance. And the three of us were on a text, and then yeah, I just kind of dropped the ball on that one. So maybe in 2028.
The when it comes to treating a golfer, so was it right after your first golfer that you treated? You're like, I think this is what I want to do, like, career wise, or was there an actual like certain point in time where like golf is what I really think I'm going to get into?
That's a great question. I think it was a combination of two things. The conversation I had with Jeremy while I was in PT school and hearing his excitement with working with golfers. But then my first lesson, I had my first official lesson with Tom Caricato at Plum Creek in Castle Rock, Colorado. I left that session, one, addicted to golf. But also I was like, oh man, like how many people how many golfers chase that feeling of like, oh my God, I hit the center of the club face. Oh my God, I just broke 80 for the first time. Oh my God, I played golf for the first time without back pain. And I think that same feeling of that I had with that first lesson of like wanting to chase like that feeling of trying to play good golf, like it's like, oh, well, I can provide a service that in essence provides that feeling to golfers. I would attribute that to more of that first lesson. Because I've worked with a number of different athletes. I've worked with a lot of Olympic weightlifters, a few Olympians when we were in Colorado. But I mean, nothing brings me more joy than working with golfers and being able to combine the treatment and being able to go play. There's nothing better than working with somebody that comes to see you for an injury or a performance, and then they invite you out to go play golf, and then they're playing golf or they're doing something in their golf game that they hadn't done before. Like I have a older adult that I've been seeing for almost a year for like golf performance. He had like an average drive of like 160 back in November of last year. Now he's got a great coach as well, and he's hitting like well over 200 now, and he's 76. Yeah, and it's great. I mean, he always jokes and says like the two of us are stuck with him forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I have probably 3 or 4 clients that I've been seeing for 3 years that they came, loved it, they saw a benefit, and like they just love the whole golf world. And I have a guy that comes in, he's got new clubs every couple months. He's talking about this new thing he saw online. He just loves golf, and like seeing them progress, like they came in with a ton of pain. Then we worked on
Mm-hmm.
their mobility. And now that they're moving better, they want to hit the ball further. And there's always something to work on, which is, I
Right.
think, more unique to golf than most sports that we see. So I enjoy treating my golfers. There's a couple guys that I don't think they're ever going to stop coming. They'll follow me around the
Mm-hmm.
country if I move. They're so
Yep.
addicted. Um, but getting into your career, I'm super interested to hear about it, but I'm curious. Walk me through how you landed the role with PGA Tour. Like, what did that path kind of look like?
Right. Great question. And I just realized I did not mention that in my background. That probably would have been helpful to mention at the beginning of this. But nevertheless, so I knew I wanted to get into golf PT towards the end of PT school. And I worked at a cash PT clinic in like South Denver, trying to do golf PT. And I broke off and did my own thing like 6 months after graduating, and I had a really good relationship with this place up in Colorado Springs called Tribe Golf. Owners Leighton, and him and I like got along really well, and like we did workshops together all the time, speed clinic stuff. And then as I continued like to develop that relationship, one thing that I did that I think was, I mean, beneficial, like looking back on it now, but as I would make tee times at public courses near like are in Colorado Springs that only had one slot open. So if for those that have never played golf, like you typically have a tee time of 4 slots available, and I would make them for times that only had one slot. One, I wanted to selfishly get better at playing in front of strangers because there's nothing worse than trying to play through a slow group, and then you could be playing great all day, but 99% of the time you're just going to hit the worst shot you'll hit all day when strangers are watching. But I also, on the other hand, wanted to meet 3 new people every time I played golf. And I met a PGA professional in Colorado, Dave Arbuckle. He a very, very good golfer. But we're getting to know each other. We ended up being the only people in this tee time, and he had qualified for the Senior PGA Championship at PGA Frisco Fields Ranch East course in 2023, and he was looking for a caddy. His friends weren't able to do it, and my father happens to live like 10-15 minutes from the course. I'd never caddied before. I had no clue what I was doing, but I mean, that was December of 2022 when he asked me, and then the tournament was in May of 23. So I pretended like it was my full-time job. I learned everything I could about like reading greens, understanding like David's like distances for all of his clubs. And one thing I just happened to, I don't know how I knew that each tournament had what's essentially like our mobile clinic and mobile gym. I don't know how I found out that they were going to be there, but each tournament on Champions Tour, PGA Tour, and then now some of the Korn Ferry Tours, we have a fitness and therapy truck. It's a big semi-truck trailer that one's essentially a clinic and one's essentially a gym. So I got to the course early one morning and pretended I needed my knee tape because I knew it was going to buy me at least enough time to figure out, all right, well, where on the knee are we going to put this, yada, yada, yada. But the guy, Jeff Boer, who gave me the time of day, he was asking me, he was like, oh, well, how did you get into caddying as a PT? And I was like, I honestly don't know how I got here. But I remember asking him if they post jobs in Indeed, like, how did you get out here? And he said, oh, well, it's more or less a relationship type of role and job. Like, obviously you have to be really good at what you do, manual therapy in particular. But he helped me get an interview about a week later. Mind you, I was not even a year out of school. And so I had what I thought was a great interview. They told me I didn't have quite the experience yet, but to continue developing my skills. Like I had a strong foundation is what was told to me. So I just continued grinding and doing what I can to kind of just become a better clinician. And then December 8th of 2023, one of my now coworkers texted me and asked if I was still interested. And I said, yeah. I went through, that was a Wednesday. I had an interview with him, then an interview with the team Thursday, and then a call with our medical director Friday. And then they offered me the job on Friday, which I thought was going to be part-time at first. And only full-time was available, which is 25 weeks, which 6 months out of the year, which is daunting because at the time I was deathly afraid of flying. I was so afraid of flying. When I was in PT school, I would drive from Colorado Springs to Knoxville, Tennessee. I mean, now looking back on that, I'm like, oh my God, it's like if I could fly from West Palm to Jacksonville, I would. It's a 4-hour drive. I could not imagine driving
I'd rather fly
19
anywhere.
hours. Yeah. So, yeah, that's more or less kind of, I guess, a little bit of luck, but like from a timing perspective. But I honestly didn't know that the PGA Tour and stuff was in the cards for me. I was just trying to meet new people, and then like I got really lucky and I was persistent. I mean, I bugged the crap out of one of the chiros that works on tour and the guy that ultimately texted me like every month. Hey, have you guys heard anything? Hey, have you guys heard anything? And now when people ask me, like it feels like I always feel bad. I'm like, just keep bugging me, because it's not like I feel like working in sports, like I can't speak to team sports, but I feel like this type of job. Like people's careers and lives change season to season, whether it be kids or they're reaching the end of their career or they just kind of want to change and find something new. That changes year to year, and it's always so difficult to kind of determine if our team is going to have needs and stuff. But I always tell people, just keep bugging me or bugging whoever's contact you have. Just bug them, because if not, then the season's long and everyone has private life outside of that, and people forget it happens. So,
And I mean, really, you put the work in. Like, you were making
right,
those
yeah,
tee times. You went and caddied. You never caddied before. Like people that don't golf and know like what goes into that, it's not an easy job at all. So I mean,
no.
I commend you for that. The I'm curious, what is the interview process like for the PGA Tour? Like you said, you had three different calls. Like, was it very just question heavy? Did they have you come in person at once, or
No, it was all Zoom because everyone on our team lives in a different city. I don't think anybody on our team actually lives in the same city. Two of the Kairos and one of our PTs live in the Chicago area, but everyone, like one of our ATCs lives up in Syracuse. The guy that started the Cairo program, I think he's like somewhere in Ithaca, and then spends some time down here in Jupiter. So the first interview was more or less, tell me a little bit about your experience. Why do you want to work in golf? And um, what's your experience working with athletes? Um, and I think that was probably the most important one because manual therapy skills, like you can develop those. You can develop um, a knowledge and understanding of really any sport depending on what you want to work in. But I think understanding working with pro athletes from a personality perspective is different. And unless you've worked with a pro, it doesn't matter the sport, or even like an elite high school athlete or collegiate athlete. Like you just have to approach it from a different lens. You can't be in pro sports. You can't be like a fanboy or fangirl. Like you can't be asking them a bunch of questions about, oh, you remember that time in 2016 when you hit that shot and da 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 da. Like they don't want to hear that hear that kind of stuff. But like those soft skills I think are, I mean, they're really important outside of pro sports, but I mean really in any setting that you're working in. But um, I think that question is asked, like, what is your experience working with pro athletes? Because they want to know, are you going to be somebody that's asking to take photos with athletes every time they come in for treatment? Are you going to favor one particular athlete over another because they have more of a household name, like all those different things? And I knew about golf, but I just thought it'd be cool to be able to just work in like any sport. Like I would have loved to work in the NFL. Like the NFL, like the hours are crazy, and collegiate football too is. And I had a conversation about this with a director of rehab for an NFL team. And man, golf is a lot of travel, but we have a pretty cake schedule compared to other sports. Like the last 2 years, I did not work when I was like 25 weeks out of the year. But those 25 weeks I did work, man, yeah, 3 to 4 a.m. wake up calls, and you go to bed at like, or you get done at work anywhere from like 4 to 7 p.m. And you're working 2 to 4 weeks in a row, and they're all away games. I mean, it's at least the other team sports have half your schedules at home, even though you're going to be in the training room. But 25 weeks of being on the road, unless the tournament's in your backyard. But it was nice. Yeah.
that that leads into two questions that I have. I mean, the first is like a broader sports med team like that. You said you had ATC, Cairo, PT. How do you divide up the work? Like who treats what, who does what, or is it just kind of the first person to come in, go see Chris, the next person to come in, go see the Cairo, or do you actually have like a system?
Yeah, there's no like organized system. There are some athletes that are been out on the road for a while or have a PT in Cairo with they work with at home, and they'll go see Cairo for adjustment. They'll come see us for like body work or maybe like exercises. But all of our staff is capable of doing. Like if somebody comes in to see like any one of us, like you wouldn't know who's who, except for the Cairo because their table looks different. But everyone on our staff is capable of doing their therapeutic exercise, correctives, taking someone through like a workout routine. Now the athletic trainers obviously have an emergency response training, so they will also oversee the fitness truck, and we've got on the PGA Tour we've got a recovery center that has like cold plunges and sauna, so they have that additional education and training, kind of like a just in case something happens kind of thing. But they all um, worked in collegiate sports. Like one of our guys was like the head trainer for men's basketball at Ohio State for like 20-30 years. And another guy that's like pit football for a long time. And then for whatever reason, like a lot of I think the combined experience with athletic trainers in the MLB is like well over 100 years now. And yeah, that like it's pretty cool to talk with them about like baseball and stuff like that. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to know. Like you wouldn't be able to tell like who's who based on coming in for treatment.
That's my answer to people all the time, especially in the cash
Mm-hmm.
world. People are like, well, what's the difference between you and a Cairo? I'm like, if they're cash based, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. They should be doing similar things. It's all, some do manual a little more than others, some do some exercise more than others. But generally, they're going to be doing the same thing that's going to get you better. So I was interested to see kind of how that worked on tour, but it sounds pretty similar.
I
But
think I've
I say,
sorry, I was gonna say like one more thing. I was gonna say I've actually learned more from not to discredit the skill set of our ATCs or PTs, but I had never worked with Kairos before, and there are two guys in particular, like well three. I've probably learned more from those three guys, particularly from like manual therapy, than I have like anybody else in my career. Like there's three guys individual that are the best clinicians from a manual therapy perspective that I've ever witnessed, like had treatment done on me. And when those guys work a tournament, like I'm not mad if guys are like, hey, Chris, I love you to death, man, but this guy, I mean, he's got the special sauce. I'm like, dude, I like at the end of the day, like I want you to feel better. And like if anything, I can learn how to become a better clinician because watching these guys work is like magic. It's an art.
so I'm curious throughout the day, like you said, there's days you work from 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. What does that day actually?
So each day is different. So our depending on the tournament, like some tournaments we start on Mondays, most of them are like Tuesdays. Like our signature events and majors, somebody's working on Monday, typically like a half day because some of the field will be on site. Some guys might be traveling from the previous tournament or traveling from home, and they already know the course pretty well. But our normal schedule is Tuesday 7 to 7 or 7 to 6, depending on the time of year and like daylight. And then Wednesday, our pro am days. So we're there an hour before the first tee time until 6 or 7, and then Thursday through Sunday, we start an hour and a half before the first tee time. So like this time of the year, like some tee times can be as early as like 5:45 in the morning, and then and then we leave at the same time, and then except for Sunday. Sunday we leave after the last group tees off. Um, yeah, and then on Sunday we're either flying home or flying to the next tournament if we've got multiple tournaments in a row. But it's not 12, 14 hours of like nonstop work. We typically have like Tuesday and Wednesdays are pretty busy. Tuesdays, I'd say my experience over the last 3 years is probably the busiest day because guys are traveling in. if they're on a multi-week stretch, they're coming in for a number of like aches and pains, soreness, fatigue. Maybe a few guys have some injuries. And then Wednesday is a combo of kind of managing those types of things, but also getting guys ready to go play in the Pro-Am. And then Thursday through Sunday, it's morning time, getting guys that are in the first wave ready for their round. And then in the afternoon, it's a mix of getting guys that are in the second wave ready for their round, but also helping with recovery stuff from the guys in the morning. It's a very manual therapy heavy type of job. Um, but then it changes week to week. Like our volume, I think, depends on where our trucks are located. Because sometimes they're in an inconvenient location because logistics, maybe the golf course just doesn't logistically have the best setup, and guys might be less likely to come get treatment because it's like out of the way or something like that. But I'd say every week is for the most part pretty consistent. Like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are very busy, and then Thursday through Sunday, like you have a more predictable period of time where it's going to be busy. Whereas like Tuesday might be very busy from 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. and then busy from 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. And then at least on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, like, okay, these are the tee times. These are the guys that regularly come in for treatment. So I know if I'm going to go grab breakfast, it needs to be during this time frame. And if I need to get a snack or use the restroom, anything like that, it's easier to predict.
It's super interesting.
Yeah.
I am curious. I know you said you were full time on there the first couple of years, and now you have your own thing going on. So it's called Paragon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit
Paragon.
about.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, the name was adopted by one of my classmates. We had started this group when we were in PT school with the goal of like we wanted to try and provide education to other PT students, and then we kind of didn't do anything more with it after. And when I was coming up with the name, I was like, man, I really like Paragon and like the meaning of it. And so I texted the guys. I was like, hey, you guys cool if I use this name since no one's really using it? And um, started that about a year ago. Um, I had another practice in Colorado before before kind of joining this clinic in Colorado. And hindsight, I probably would have got a little bit more experience as a clinician before opening up a business because I was trying to learn how to be a good clinician and learn how to be a business owner at the same time. But anyways, started Paragon a year ago. So my wife and I ended up in Jupiter because I met a performance trainer that lives down here. I met him on the road working with golf and more or less asked him if he's planning to open up a spot down here because he was at a facility kind of in a partnership with another guy. And then he branched off, did his own thing. And like he works with a lot of like big name golfers, baseball players. And he's just a great guy to be around. So we moved down here last year, and then I kind of opened up shop at his facility. And I actually just left there like 2 or 3 weeks ago because the guy that I met when I first moved here that was giving lessons to me, and like he refers a lot of my business. We've been talking about this for 6+ months or so about like, hey, why don't we just have like a one-stop shop for instruction or golf performance? I guess would be the umbrella term, and that would encompass instruction, strength and conditioning, and like PT. And there was an opportunity to make that happen. And then, yeah, like 2 weeks ago, like where I was outfitting the kind of like what you were talking about earlier. Like you had this space that wasn't being used, and like he uses the space all the time. I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to move here, I need to outfit this stuff with what I feel like is minimum for working with athletes. And Yeah, it's been great.
That's super cool. Where I am, there is a golf pro that works here, and so it works out really well that it just became an in-house referral source for me. But the amount of people that I treat and we get their mobility better, there's actually swing speed goes way up. But they tell me like my game hasn't improved at all. I'm like, yeah, you don't know how to use all that new speed and mobility you have. I'm like, go see the pro. So it works really well. And is that kind of what
Crazy
you
how.
guys do?
Yeah, we actually had a guy today. He came, the same guy that was complaining about shooting in the mid 80s last week and then shooting a 93 the other day. He's been dealing with some kind of flare ups with like tennis and golfer's elbow. And um, I told him, I was like, well, what do you think it's something like a PT thing, or is it like a mechanics thing? He's like, I feel like something mechanically is going wrong with my swing. Because he was asking me what I thought. I was like, well, if if your forearms are achy, like they probably the capacity of or the demand being placed on your arms via the volume of golf he's playing exceeds what his arms are capable of doing, then there's going to be some breakdown. So we're just like, all right, well, maybe we'll just continue incorporating grip strengthening into his workout routine. And I told my buddy Jeff today that owns the golf instruction side. I was like, hey, can you take a look at this guy's elbow? Like if you're seeing if he's like flipping his hands instead of rolling his wrist at impact, um, or if he's just gripping the club too hard because he's frustrating that he's not playing good golf. Because I didn't hear a lick of any forearm pain or tightness last week, and then he has one bad round, and it's just like, oh, everything hurts. But yeah, it's great to have somebody because during an assessment or during just a discovery visit, I actually had one before this podcast, and I was asking the guy if he has an instructor because he's dealing with some back pain, and I think it's a question all golfers should be asked is, are they receiving lessons? Because we can do all the things that we do, but if they don't know how to swing a golf club, it's going to be a revolving door. I mean, it's great for business, but ideally we want to like facilitate independence as best as we can. But having a good golf instructor helps bridge that gap.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we were talking about it earlier, how there's always something to work on with a golfer. They could always get stronger, get faster, more powerful, mobility. But then when I get them and we look at their swing, like I'll do all my testing, we do all the power and strength stuff. And at the end, we go into the sim, look at their swing, do some club head speed testing, and I see their swing. I'm like, your low hanging fruit is like, go get a lesson. Like, yeah, that's the first thing you
Seriously.
need. Like, yeah, we can work on stuff, but like
Yeah.
ethically, that's what you need first.
Right. You're like looking at it, you're like, man, does that feel good? Does that
Or
hurt?
like my back group, right? I see them line up, they stand up straight, reverse spine angle, super
Yeah.
side bend.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Like no kidding. Crazy how that works.
Yep. I am curious though, with your practice that you have now, how do you balance the two between the tour? Because you do the Corn Ferry and PGA, as well as now having your own practice. Like, what does that look like each month?
It's been very tough the past year. I went to part time before the schedule came out for this year, anticipating that I was gonna try and grow my practice, but essentially like the tour became like my side hustle. The problem with that is my side, like most side hustles, don't require you to be gone for an entire week or more at a time. So the way I planned it was I can't be on the road for more than 2 weeks at a time. Um, and ideally like only one tournament per month from January until May. Because like we were talking about earlier, like you being in Buffalo is very seasonal. Like my caseload is very seasonal. Like my business did extremely well between January and May, and then like May to now it's like it's slow. But going into year two, because I just hit 1 year my first anniversary of my business, knowing the market now, I'm like, okay, well, I just need to make enough in 6 months, which is very doable. So that way I don't need to stress too much about, I'm still going to have a few clients that don't have homes up in New York and Pennsylvania and all that, those other places, but I can make enough money to, and I can play more golf next summer. I can be with my wife and we've got a daughter on the way. Um, so it's been tough though, because the thing I found as a business owner is like scarcity is, I think, a great thing. Uh, like I have clients that say like, oh, well, I told like my PT's on the road with the tour. That's cool for maybe a couple days. But when you're gone for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, there have been like a few difficult conversations. Like with clients are like, man, I just like when you're gone, like my body just like feels like crap, which is a compliment. Like, but I also like, man, I would rather just be here so that way we continue working on stuff, because I've worked with trainers before as a client, and it's just not the same when you don't have your person with you in person. Like I don't particularly love virtual or telehealth visits, um, albeit they can be effective. It's not the same when you have somebody in front of you. They can provide like tactile feedback, help you with different positions and all these different things. And um, but fortunately, like I've been here for long enough now. I know, like I have a good plan going, good plan and system going in place heading into the busy season here in a few months. But it's been exhausting.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, I run two practices, but I have my cash practice here and then comprehend. Comprehend's full
Mm-hmm.
time. My cash practice I do part time. But even then, it's tough,
Yeah.
and I can only imagine
Yeah.
what you're going through. And you have a kid on the way, so congrats on that. And just
Thank you.
another thing that'll make it tougher, but it's well worth it when you get home.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I started my cash practice when my first son was born, and we went all in on comprehend when my second son was born. I don't recommend starting another business when you have another kid. It was an interesting time.
Yeah. Yeah. It all works out in the end, though, right?
They're still fun. Now I got to get them into golf. So I have my excuse to get out and golf more.
There you, there you go. I love it.
But I know you kind of get in near the end here. I know you still teach now at a DPT program. Is that still something
Yeah.
you're doing? What do you teach?
Yes. I help adjunct for therapeutic intervention. So it's a course on like learning exercise selection, dosage, and then modalities, ultrasound, E-stim, BFR, a number of different things. Funny enough, I was in Knoxville for a Corn Ferry Tour event 2 years ago, and one of the lead faculties happened to need a PT, and like I went to her clinic and doing a tour, and she was more like, "So while you're here, is there any chance that you could come back here in September and also help adjunct with like the virtual didactic stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean that sounds like I love teaching, and it helps me." Which I'm sure any professor can attest to this, being able to teach students like helps you with them like learn more about what it is that you're teaching, and then you also get an opportunity to learn. Like I learned so much from the other professors because there's a like so much experience between our group of professors, and it's been a wonderful opportunity, and it's so cool to be able to um, teach not only just the material but just be a resource and for career advice too. Like everybody, not everybody, a lot of people want to work in sports that are interested in doing ortho, and I feel like I try and spend as much time trying to scare students out of it, because they think like, oh well, I work in sports, I'm going to get jerseys, I'm going to be able to like hang out with pro athletes, and like that stuff happens, but there's an opportunity cost to everything, like time, away from people you care about. If you're, you're riding solo, then, it's a great opportunity to see the country, see the world, meet people, establish relationships, all over the country. But like you're going to work really long hours. You're going to experience some burnout at some point. Like my job is great. It's provided me a lot of opportunities outside of it. But there are still mornings where I wake up and I'm like, I kind of don't want to go to work today. And I think that's just being honest, and that being able to to be a resource for like the future generations of our profession is like such a thing I cherish a lot. Being able to play a small role in future PTs careers.
Yeah. We talk to students all the time now with Comprehend, and documentation is obviously the burden everybody feels when they treat, and even cash based. Like we still have so many people that'll use Comprehend because we're ingrained that we have to document everything. So every time I talk to a student, it's always they bring up Comprehend, they want to use it, but then they get into, oh, you take cash, oh, you treat golfers, like that's awesome. And I always have to tell them, like, yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. Like I love it, but it's not for everybody.
Right.
So it's interesting to hear that it's the same whether you're in the PGA Tour treating or
Mm-hmm.
you run an in-network clinic where you see 20 people a day. Like there's still burnout. It's just what
Right.
drives you to be happy, essentially.
Right. Right. Like I could not
But
imagine. I mean, as much as I've just been exhausted and not one to treat, I could not imagine like working the last couple of years, like working in a even like a cash PT clinic like that. Like having it now is different, but I've been able to travel to a lot of places I otherwise wouldn't have. My wife's been able to travel to some places. I've met some incredible people, and I played way more golf than I deserve. And like otherwise I wouldn't have had those opportunities. But it's still like my, I tell people sometimes, like, you do realize, like, I'm not just because I post that I'm playing golf. That's not what my entire. I have one day during a travel week that I get to do that. Sometimes I'll get multiple days depending on daylight, but the rest of the day is just like you're just getting beat down, like
yeah,
anywhere from like 15 to 30 treatment sessions a day. Yeah,
it's crazy. But like you said, if you like doing it,
but
it's
yeah,
not work per se.
yeah,
But I get the same stuff. I go to all these conferences for Comprehend, and I'll post that we went golfing the day we got there. And obviously, my wife right away, she's like, "Is that all you do when you go is you golf?" I'm like, "No, that's our one thing." And it just
one
happens that
thing.
there are three other golf sickos at the conference that are like, "Hey, we booked a tee time." I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
But this has been awesome. I appreciate you coming on. Any words of wisdom for any PTs that want to get into golf? Words of wisdom to students that are going to listen, like what they should do going forward if they want to get into sports in general?
For golf, I will add one part to what Jeremy Smith told me about. You don't have to be good at golf. I don't think you have to be good at golf to get invited, but you cannot be a slow player. Like you'll get invited. Like if you're the vibes guy in the group and people enjoy like hanging out with you, you could be the crappiest golfer in the world. But if you do it quickly, like people invite you all the time because they love spending time with you. They're like, oh yeah, let's Chris O'Neill's going to come out and play golf with it. He's terrible, but he's such a fun hang, and he understands like golf etiquette and plays fast. Now sports, it's funny. I just took a mentorship course with Emily Ferry. She works with a lot of NFL, MLB guys, and she gets this question a lot. And I mean, it's so true. It's working in sports is such a relationship based type of job. Working in team sports, I'd say if you want to work like football, basketball, baseball, softball, lacrosse, you're probably gonna have to do a residency, like a sports residency, because a lot of the schools are going to be attached to a team in some regard, or you're going to have to know somebody And typically, you're not going to know somebody unless you went through residency or you're changing careers because maybe you were an athletic trainer before. Um, Golf, I mean, is I think unique compared to other sports with our interview process and selection. And then general advice is work on your soft skills, people skills. I mean, PT school is not easy. Like, you need to know your stuff, but if you've never had a job before because you went through undergrad and then you went straight to PT school, like, I would highly encourage you to go either volunteer or get a job if you're capable of doing so where you're working with people, because the only way to develop those skills are by working with human beings. And like, it takes a certain level of emotional intelligence to be, I think, good at what you do regardless of the profession. If it involves working with human beings, like, you have to have a high level of emotional intelligence, because when somebody comes into the clinic and like you, I feel like being able to read somebody and understanding what they're going through without them explaining it, like, I mean, that stuff is like a superpower, and you don't develop those skills unless you've worked with human beings and understanding different personalities and beliefs and wants and expectations. And that's just not something that you can learn in a textbook. And you can learn it to an extent during clinical rotations, but the more you can do that even before PT school or while you're in PT school, like, just work with human beings in some capacity, because it's going to develop those soft skills a ton.
I agree completely. I tell people all the time, they some of the cash PT groups I was in a mastermind when I first started. They talked about it. Some of the best PTs that have like the best outcome, all it was their patients like them and trust them. Like it goes a long way if you can really build a rapport with somebody. And like again, that's kind of why I built Comprehend. The fact that I could walk into my clinic, I can put on my Ray-Bans and just start treating my patient. I don't have to touch anything, do anything. They walk out and I say, "Hey, Comprehend, finish my note," and my note gets done in the background. Like they walked in, and I was just talking to them the whole time.
Right.
Golf wise, it's great too. I just say like, "Hey, Comprehend, take a video of this," and it videos their swing as we're looking at it too. Like that's a two for one.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's like patients just want you to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell people that all that, like, I had a consult before the podcast, and yeah, I was like, I really hope you can help me. I was like, look, I cannot guarantee your pain is going to go away, because pain is, I was like, but I guarantee, I was like, you will not find a provider that's going to provide a higher level of service. Now, that part I can guarantee, because um, I think, like, there have been so many times, I think every clinician, regardless of years of experience, deals with some level of imposter syndrome. I, or especially earlier in my 4-year career, leaned heavily on just listening to people and understanding. Like, I have I don't want to talk too much, but I've one MLB athlete that I work with, and he's a very, very good athlete. I had a call with the head PT of that organization, and he asked me. Now, this guy's got every letter behind his name. He's got a ton of great experience. Like, I would, if I saw his resume, I'd be like, oh man, I want this guy as a mentor. And he asked me, Chris, what did you do to earn his trust? Because like, he never wanted to work. I was like, I just asked him what he wanted. Like, what are your expectations? Like, in order for me to understand and to better help you, like, what are you hoping to get out of this process? And he said, I want this. And I was like, all right, cool. I didn't, like, it wasn't some crazy like 4-step system of like this crazy in-depth assessment. Like, he just wanted a few things, and then I sprinkled a little bit of what I felt like he needed visit to visit. And I mean, I don't think that I'm like the greatest PT of all time by any means, but I'm really good at what I do, and I think it goes back to like having really good soft skills.
I remember being taught early on that if you ask them at the beginning of the eval, like, "What do you hope to get out of this today?" If they tell you they just want to feel better, do more manual. If they want to just know what's going on, educate them more. Like they tell you what they want, and it's it's nice to hear that that happens all the way up to even the people you're treating, as well as even if you're an in-network new grad and you're seeing 30 people a day, like you can still get people better. Just ask them what they want. So I love that advice. But where can people find you if they want to follow you on any socials, anything like that?
Yes. Uh, the Instagram I use primarily, I have a business one, but I don't never use it. But my handle is co.physio. Um, I try and post as much as I can, but it's mostly a hodgepodge of golf, exercise, and travel related stuff. But if there are people that want to know more, I love talking with folks in DMs and then setting up a time to call or set up. I'd probably hand out my phone number way more often than I probably should. But at the end of the day, like sports is such a gatekeeping area, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for other guys giving me a time of day. So I will always provide some type of resource and would rather do it via text or call. Because I think, if you get lifted up to a great opportunity, you got to lift the next person up so they can get an opportunity as well. So I'd say that's the best way to get a hold of me. And if you're genuinely interested, like, let's set up a time to chat and we can talk.
Yeah, and we'll link your stuff in the show notes so people can look and see where to find you. But Chris, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. But that's it for this episode of Rehab on the Mic. We'll catch you guys next time. And Chris, thanks again for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris.